Welcome to Tech Talks, everyone. We're so always glad to have our EMSC program managers with us. And today we're going to be training on dashboard discoveries and navigating NPRP data in Tableau. We've got our very own data manager, Patty Schmuhl, who's going to be walking us through those awesome dashboards. But before we get started, just a reminder about group norms. We have some new managers, some seasoned managers, but all skill levels are welcome. Whatever you've got to bring to the table is great. We definitely would love for you to participate either on the phone. You can ask questions. I'll be monitoring the chat today, so please feel free to drop me a line there. And remember to press mute and not hold on your phones, just to keep the line free of distraction. We want everyone to have fun kind of walking through these tutorials and with the dashboards, so please feel free to interact. Just a reminder about the May challenge for the month. How many of your hospitals are in a rural area? If you took this challenge, go ahead and drop me a line in the chat, say yes or no. And Patty's going to give us more information about that, probably cover that in the training. And with that, I will stop sharing. Patty, you can get started.
Okay, let me make sure I share the right screen this time. Okay, I think I am. Let me pull up Tableau here. Oops, I can't figure out how to get rid of you guys. Okay, there we go. I'll put you on the other screen. Okay, so welcome everybody. It's always a pleasure to be with you. We want to recognize what happened in Texas and let you know that our thoughts and prayers are with those families. EMSC is about children, so especially hits home. And just wanted you to know and recognize that we're thinking about all of those little children. So today we're going to talk about the summary report, your state national pediatric readiness summary report. Now, all of you should have received this report in a PDF version, maybe a month and a half ago. And we want to talk about the dashboard that's online now of this report, because there's actually a lot you can do with it that you may not know of. There's a lot of data in here that you can access and download and play with, and some Tableau secrets. So just to remind you, all of these pages together make a workbook, and each page is called a dashboard. But each dashboard is up here in a tab, and you can navigate all of these by either hitting this drop-down button. We'll talk about these two new dashboards we added, and then you can either hit the right arrow or the left arrow to scroll between these. And then we're going to use a couple buttons up here. I have some extra because I'm logged in as Super Patty here, so I have some extra power. So the first thing is, the first part of this report is really static. It's just reporting response rates from previous times and the current time. We can't show a comparison of scores, obviously, because these two surveys were very different, and we have an explanation of that. So the first thing down here is we have a chart on the distribution of scores by volume, and we like to show this because you get a sense of where your hospitals are scoring by the number of pediatric patients they see per day. So, and it's stacking up to be like what we would think. So it's nice to help visualize your data, make sure it's sitting how you would think. So we have, the lowest has obviously more hospitals and a larger spread. And we have median, we have two outliers over here. And then, we have high with some less. So the first thing is you can roll over these circles and see the name of the hospital. So if you'd like to know who it scored low here, so maybe you can reach out to them, you can roll over that. Right now, the data that I'm showing to you is fake and or de-identified, so that we're respecting confidentiality. But you'll be able to see your actual hospital name and not generic hospital downtown. So that is why we build this. And we also added a filter so that you can look at this by urbanicity. And again, we do this so that you can check the data, that it's what you expected, but also for ways to look at QI and where to start. So if I go to rural, I can see that I only have low and medium categories now, which makes sense, right? We don't have high volume kids in rural areas, so this makes sense. So, and we also see, the hospital's a little bit closer, and we can see what's going on in this area. You can look at suburban and so forth. So suburban, we start to get medium to high, but we're still not quite at high volume. And in urban, you would expect to see all of them. So we do. So our data is, looking good, and we can get down a little bit more to the details. And to turn off this filter, we simply go to this funnel and click on it, and it will clear that filter if you didn't go back to all. So that's what this chart is. But I want to tell you that there's secret data behind this chart, and all of this is in Tableau and accessible to you. So to make this chart, we have the volume, the hospital name, and its score. So you can get that out of this chart at any time. So if you go up to the download button, there's two ways. One is called data and one is called crosstab. So if I hit crosstab, I need to go find this view. So I tried to name these so that it would make sense. It happens to be clicked on volume distribution already because we were working in that table. And what's nice now is Tableau can download right straight into a native Excel format. So you would hit the download button. So let me show you what this looks like, just to protect again the data. So it would come out like this. So you'd be, wow, Patty, thank you so much. This looks so helpful. Now we could do some things, fancy things in Excel to make this more readable. Transposing data and things like that, but there is another button in Tableau. So let's take a look at that. So I'm still in this table. I hit download, and I'm going to hit data. And let me pull up my data graphic just so, again, to protect them. You'll see two tabs when you look at the view data. You'll see a summary. You can download all these rows. It says a text file, but it's a comma separated file. And then you have the full data. So summary is the data that's in the chart, and full data is every piece of data, even with variables that I derived. So it's not necessarily going to be helpful to you to know what state on open is or user script or things like that. So you really don't ever want to download that because you don't know how I made that data or what it's used for. So if you come down here, you're going to want to click on download all rows as a text file. So this time what you will actually get is a file that looks like this. So this is really nice. So I can come up here in the corner and double click between these columns so we can see the width of our information. I'm just going to bold the headers, show you what we usually do in, I don't know how to get rid of that top thing there, the screen share. Can I move that around? Oh, there we go. Okay. Are you still seeing my screen? Hopefully. Anyway, I'm going to go to data filter, and that's so we can filter on any of these fields. And at NEDARC, we always turn on freeze top row just because that will keep the headers always at the top. So this way you have the same information that was in that chart, but now you have it in a different way that you can look at. So I can say, show me all my medium to high hospitals. So I have their name in Excel and their scores. So I can do, whatever you want to do. So if I wanted to sort this and say these two hospitals are scoring a little bit low, and we need to thank Don Vernon, who worked with us for years and is not here anymore, for the names of these hospitals. He used to make up some fake names for us. So
Patty, everyone loves the names.
Yeah. So, you may want to focus on these. So that gives you some things that you can, a lot of people don't know that's inside of these dashboards. The other thing is, what if you want an image of this to put inside of PowerPoint or some other presentation that you're doing? You still can go to the download button, and if I hit image, it will download the whole page actually, and then you'd have to crop down to this. So there are some other things you can do. So let's download it straight into PowerPoint. In PDF, you could download it into a PDF, but it's a little bit harder to extract an image from PDF unless you have Photoshop or something like that. But if we go to PowerPoint, now it's going to ask, if it says this view, this is the entire page. But I want to look at specific sheets that are on this dashboard. So again, I need to find this chart. If I do display 2021 response rate, all you're going to get is that little chart at the top with the response rate. So you don't want that. So I'm going to uncheck that. Again, this is recorded, so you can go back and look at this. Now scroll over. This one's at the bottom of the page, so it's probably the farthest one over. And here's 2021 volume. If you hover over it, it will give you the full name. I'm going to click that and I'll hit download. And I have a PowerPoint here that opens up. The very first page of the PowerPoint is a link to where this came from, so you can click on it. And then we have the image, and I can crop the image under the format tool because I don't necessarily need the legend. So we'll do that. Now I have an image here, and in PowerPoint, you can size this image a little bit bigger if you need to. But you just right click and I can say save as picture, and I'll save it on my desktop and just say, I'll just call it volume, and hit save and go to my desktop. And now I have an individual file that I can put in anything. So you can actually grab that image and do whatever you want. But what's also nice is you can put it straight into PowerPoint at any time. If you're building a PowerPoint presentation, you can pull pieces from this report as you go along. So that's kind of fun. And it's just to let you know that behind each one of these are little data sets that you have access to. So if we go to page 2 of this report, we get some more charts. Some of them may look boring to you, but they're just reporting some statistics. I always mess up on that a little bit. But we have the number of hospitals, the average score, the median score, the minimum, and the max. So you'll notice the filter up here has urbanicity as well. So let's go back to rural. And I can see that I have 21 rural hospitals. This actually was not in your dashboard at the time of our challenge. So you may have counted the circles. So I apologize about that. But it's there now, so you can see you have 21 rural hospitals. And so average and median are measures of center values. We all know what average is. And the closer they are, we know that's more likely the truth of what all these hospitals scored. And when I say truth, both of these are true. This is the average and this is the median. So the average is something we learned in school, and we know how that's calculated. The median is the middle score of a set of values. So when they're spread apart, you know that your data is more spread apart. So if we go back to the summary report, you'll notice that it stayed on rural because these two filters are connected. So whatever you do on this page or the other page, it will update. You can see that the median here is stretched out from low to high. So that's why there's a bigger difference in the median. And that's important for several reasons. Sometimes we get the average income that people make. We get that nationally. If they didn't report it as a median, we would all be making like $250,000 a year because the billionaires and millionaires are skewing that data out. So that's why the median is there. So if we use the median, then it will probably be we're mostly making $60,000 a year. So these two can mean different things, but that we included them here just so you understand. Then we have the minimum and the maximum score. Again, just to help you see what's going on. And you can see all of your hospitals again, and you can think, well, if it's an urban area, I'd expect them to score higher. And they do. So you can see if your data is actually doing what you think it should do. So you may think this is a nice chart, but I don't really want to show it this way. So I want to show you again, let's do a download. And this time I'm going to do a crosstab. I want to make sure the right thing is checked, volume table. So I'll hit download. And I am going to open this. So this is the volume distribution. No, wrong one, sorry. I actually have to open this one. So let me download it and open it up. So you will get a chart like this that looks exactly the same. Again, I'm going to click here and just pull this out so we can read it. I'm going to delete the grand total. And I just want to show you what you can do with this data. I mean, it's here for you. So I can click in here and I can say insert the chart, and I like going to recommended charts, and it's saying I recommend this clustered column. So I'll say okay. And it will pop in a chart for me just by downloading data from Tableau. And with the little brush here, I can choose a chart style. So maybe I want a cool one like this black one. And I can come in here and change the chart title. I want that box away. Or whatever I want. And this helps you see the number of hospitals. We would expect it to go from high to low. The scores, we would expect these stair steps. And again, the max score is a little bit interesting here for these medium high. So that gives you something to think about. But maybe this is how you'd rather present the data in a meeting. So you have the power to do whatever you'd like to. We've built these somewhat simple, just so they're understandable to, general stakeholders and so forth. But when you get presentations, sometimes you like to make it a little bit different. So we have trauma designation this time because this is the first time this question was asked on the assessment. And we're not trying to say designated hospitals score higher, because that's not necessarily true in the data that we've looked at. We just want you to know that we have this question and you can investigate it a little bit. So in this data set, you can roll over these, see what hospitals they are. But there's mostly no trauma designated hospitals. But there's some filters up here. So let's look at, you can stack filters. So let's look at the high volume. So these are the ones that are seeing a lot of children. And you notice the average score actually went up for no trauma designation. So there's some interesting things going on here that our researchers are going to look at. So we have 2 designated and we have 6 no trauma designation. And you can see the spread of the data. So the designated, we go from 64 to 87. And we have this tighter down here with the no trauma. But I actually could come up here and say, well, those that are designated, which one's an adult level 2, and I can find that hospital. So if I clear this and I go backwards, I can say, I want to see all the adult level 3 hospitals, and there's 2 of them. So you can take a look at who they are and average score. And you can export this data exactly like we did before, not as a crosstab. I'm not going to show you just to save time, but as using the data download.
Patty, we're at 12:20, the 10-minute mark.
Okay. Yeah, so I won't go into that, but what you would see is a table like this where you have the trauma that says if it's designated or not, the hospital name, the trauma type, what level it is, and then their average score. So you can export that and use that however you want. I do want to caution you that if you have a filter on, it will export the data according to your filter. So if you have this on high volume, it's only going to export the high volume hospital. So you'll want to clear this if you want to export everything. And the other item we have here are average scores by section. We did this so you can know where you want to focus your QI. So this is important. So there's 2 places that really stand out to me. One is QI and PI is 1.8 out of 7, which is pretty low. So I know I want to work with my hospitals in this area. And then coordination of the ED for the care of children, which is our physician coordinator, nurse coordinator, or PEC as they're sometimes called, is 2.1 out of 19. So that means a lot of my hospitals are missing. coordinator. So I definitely want to focus on these two areas. So if we go to page 3, this is the beginning of your state summary dashboard. Now there's not a lot different than the PDF, but we did add a few things here. These tables aren't necessarily going to give you more information if you download them because they don't have the hospital names. But what we did do is you can roll over the 2013-14 so you can see what the numbers were. So you had 38 out of 101. And in 2021, which also shows here, you had 13. So, I mean, you lost a lot of physician coordinators and a lot of nurse coordinators. So this is actually a trend that we're seeing nationwide. So there's a big drop, but you'll want to look at this data and see what's going on, who lost some coordinators or who needs some help there. And of course we have the KPI, which help is like, focus on this now. Yellow is urgent. This red diamond is urgent. We have a green, which is, hey, I'm doing good. And then all of these pages 3 through 9 are your gap report. And if you have a check mark, that means you got a perfect score. So you're looking for that green check mark. And the legend for this is on page 3. So finally, I just wanted to show you, we added 2 new dashboards for you because we've heard a lot of QI efforts that people have wanted to make as far as physician coordinators. So you can download the information here of the name of the hospital, if they have a coordinator, and their score. This isn't an average, this is the actual score of the hospital. If there is a blank score, that means that that hospital submitted a PDF version of the assessment and they didn't answer all of the scored questions. We kept them in here because the questions they did answer are still valuable. So they did answer whether they did not have a coordinator. So you can filter it here to see those that have a coordinator, or you can filter those who don't and see it all. And the same is up here for nurse. And it says internal use only because you have the power in your hand of that hospital's individual score. So this is really confidential information, and it could hurt a hospital if it gets out, that they're only scoring 31, it could hurt them. And we promised them that we would keep that data confidential. So, you could save this within your EMSC program. You could share this on who you want to focus on. I just want to show, let's go back to the physician coordinator. Again, I can hit download. This one, the data is crossed out, but that's because it's already in a columns. So a cross tab is fine. Either of these would look the same. There's only one view. So if I hit download, I can get those names here when it opens in Excel. So I'll just hit enable editing. I'm just going to spread these out. So you have all of this data, and you can filter by who has the coordinators and who doesn't. So let's just say no coordinator, and let's filter by the lowest to the highest. So I can see there's some that scored 30, which is really scary. So you may say, I want to start my QI on working with these specific hospitals that scored 40 points or less. So I can reach out to them and start working with them on some best practices on getting a coordinator. You can also come back down to those that have really high scores and use them as sort of the ideal and find out how they have a coordinator set up, so you can reach out to them. So on these last 2 dashboards, if there's something that would help you, like for example, the address or phone number, please let us know and we can get that added on here.
Patty, we do have
give you some QI information.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that is really all I have to show you. So we have gone through all of those, and we really hope that this will be helpful to you to know that there's a lot of data in here that you can access.
Patty, we have a question in the chat. It's from Sam in Michigan. Is the KPI legend that we see on our state summary report the same as what hospitals see in their individual gap reports?
They don't see a KPI. What they see is they have a check mark, meaning they have the item, or they don't. It's not aggregated, so they actually don't need a KPI. It's either yes, you have it, or no, you don't. So there's a check mark and there's a red box with a minus sign, and you don't have it. So it's not possible for them to have a yellow because it wouldn't be 60% have item. They're just a single hospital, but that's a good question.
Thanks so much for that, Sam. Does anybody else have any other questions for Patty? These are amazing dashboards and loaded with a lot of great information. Feel free to speak up over the phone or put something in the chat. And while we're waiting on that, I'll just remind everyone that the quality improvement version of the assessment is available at petsready.org. So while you're working with hospitals, you're welcome to let them know that if they are making improvements, addressing gaps, they can always go back to the petsready.org website.
Yeah, so they can take the survey again. Yeah.
All right, any other questions?
Hey, Patty, this is Greg.
Hi,
I'm in
Greg.
Tableau, right? Hey, how you doing? I'm in Tableau right now, and I see my summary report, but it's all blank.
Okay. Let me, you might have to close your browser and come back in, but let me check with our IT. I noticed that this morning. And I want to check and make sure if there's any server issues as far as serving up the data. So let me check in with them, and then I will send you out an email, Greg. You should be able to see your state.
Okay, thanks, Patty.
Greg,
I
this is
apologize
Mike.
for that.
When you log in, does it automatically just show North Carolina, or do you have to actually select it from a drop?
Oh, yes.
States?
There's a drop down. You have a drop down to
Oh.
select your state. Greg, thank you, Mike.
I thought I remember that. It doesn't mean you can't see any other states' data, but you actually have to select North Carolina.
Okay, yeah, when you first open it, everyone, it will be blank. You have to select your state.
Sam mentioned that as well.
So can you see it now, Greg?
I can, and really, I mean, I knew that all along. I was just asking the question for other people that maybe had that question.
Well, you obviously tricked me up, and thanks to Mike, he reminded me that there's a drop down right here for your state. That's not showing on our training data. Yeah.
Got a lot of comments in the chat that people are empathizing with that right now. So that's great. All right, well, we're just about out of time. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again here. And we just want to let you know that next month is going to be a little bit different. We are going to offer a pop-up chat, just kind of open office hours for anyone who's interested in learning more about how to navigate regional NPRP data. That'll be towards the end of June sometime, so watch for an invitation for that. Though the dashboards won't be ready for that till a little bit later in the summer, we can print a regional report for you and send it directly to you so that you can, look at your regions and kind of see what that's doing. But you can contact Patty directly for more information. There will not be a Tech Talk in June. We've got the NSEMSO meeting, and so we want to, let folks connect there and focus on the important work going on in NSEMSO. Dashboard discoveries, which is our next topic, navigating EMS for children survey data in Tableau, will resume in July. So lots of great things that are forthcoming. We hope that you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And please reach out to your NEDARC TA if you have any questions. Again, if you missed part of the recording, you can always check it out on our NEDARC website as well as our YouTube channel. If you have any ideas for Tech Talks, please don't hesitate to email me at jane.osler@hsc.utah.edu. And with that, we hope you all have a pleasant afternoon. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.